What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another view. This time we're taking a look at A Time to Kill, directed by Joel Schumacher. Let's waste no time. Let's get right into this. A Time to Kill is a courtroom drama that tells the story of Jake Brigance, who in the deep south of Mississippi is representing a man named Carl Lee Haley, who is being put on trial for the murder of two white men who also had brutalized his 10-year-old daughter. That is the overall story of A Time to Kill, so let's talk about it for a little bit. I think A Time to Kill is a really solid, really good courtroom drama movie. I think Joel Schumacher did a really good job at directing this movie. Joel Schumacher, in his lifetime, I don't think really got enough proper credit for his skills as a filmmaker. Now, I know I am one of the detractors of how he handled the Batman franchise in his two movies, but I've also, have defended Batman Forever, and I do like that movie. And even though I think Batman and Robin is a god awful movie, it does have its moments where it's actually unintentionally hilarious. But take away that, Joe Schumacher has made some really good movies. He made The Lost Boys. He made 8 mm. The man knows how to make these, dark and gritty type of movies. And A Time to Kill, it's no different. It's no different in terms of it shows Joe Schumacher's technical skills as a filmmaker when he's not given restrictions. The man is very talented. And he's always has been talented. And to me, A Time to Kill really showcases what Joe Schumacher can do as a director, and it really shows just how underappreciated the man really was as a filmmaker. So yeah, in terms of a direction and production, A Time to Kill is a great looking movie visually. It has a good. I love the aesthetic of the deep South, Mississippi. Joe Schumacher really made this place feel like its own little world that's almost detached from the rest of the world. I love it. I love it. It's good stuff. Now, let's get on to the fun part. The cast in this movie is outstanding. This movie is anchored by Matthew McConaughey, who plays a young attorney named Jake Brigance, and I thought McConaughey was fantastic in this role. I love him in this movie. I thought he was fantastic. Sandra Bullock plays a movie called character called Helen Work. I like her in this movie as well, though I don't think there was that much of her character, and they kind of take her out near the end of the movie, which I wasn't that big of a fan of. You have Samuel L. Jackson, who plays Carl Lee Haley, the man being put on trial. To me, Samuel L. Jackson gave such a really dense and nuanced performance. It's a very underappreciated performance as this father who is being put on trial for the murder of the two men who brutalized his daughter in a very vicious and gruesome way. And to Joel Schumacher's credit, the first 10 minutes of this movie is the raping of of this young 10-year-old girl. And to Joel Schumacher's credit, he made it as tasteful, I guess you can say, as humanly possible. Because listen, rape on screen is extremely difficult to sit through, especially if it involves a child. You want to make that as digestible as humanly possible. To Joel Schumacher's credit, he does not indulge it, and he tries to be as tame with it as humanly possible. You pretty much are hearing like this the little girl screams and you're getting these quick cuts. It's well edited it's well edited, but you get the general sense of what's happening to this poor little girl, and just her screaming for her father is just it'll bring you the tears, and it's more frightening than any horror movie you'll ever watch. But that relates to the Samuel Jackson performance because he's his father, who you can see is just torn apart. His little girl was victimized brutally, and as a result, she can no longer reproduce or have kids. At such a young age, and Samuel Jackson did this fantastic job in this movie. And I like how Brigance and the Carl Lee character, they have a little bit of a history, since Brigance was able to pretty much help the Carl Lee character's Lester get off on a case. But also throughout the movie, I think Haley and Brigance start to develop an underlying friendship with one another as well. Even though Haley says they're not friends, you can tell throughout the course of the movie that a bond was forming between the two. So I like how that developed, and it also gave them both a very good payoff at the end of the movie. Had nothing bad to say. Kevin Spacey plays another attorney called Rufus Buckley, who is representing the two men who's representing the family that the Samuel L. Jackson character killed. I like Kevin Spacey as an actor. Take away all the controversies in his personal life. As an actor, you cannot deny the fact that Kevin Spacey is a very talented actor. And in this movie, I like him. He plays a good, dickish, ruthless attorney. He fits the role perfectly. He has that holier than thou attitude that he projects so well on screen. And I like the rivalry that develops between the Brigance and Buckley characters. I mean, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of the Buckley character get more of a development. The only time we really see Buckley is when he's in the court, is when he's doing the courtroom stuff. We never really see him outside of that. It's almost as if the movie built up Buckley as like this, as only being in the courts, and you barely get a glimpse into his personal life. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more when it comes to the Buckley character. Like see how his home life reflects his courtroom life, or vice versa. But take all that away, Kevin Spacey, very solid performance. I like it a lot. Oliver Platt, he plays the best friend of Jake Brigance. I like Oliver Platt. I always thought Oliver Platt was a very underappreciated actor. I like him and McConaughey on screen. They have a good dynamic with one another. I like their friendship. Donald Sutherland plays the mentor of the McConaughey character called Lucien. I like Donald Sutherland in this movie, and I thought he and McConaughey had a good student-mentor relationship. It almost comes across like a father and son type of deal, and I like it a lot. Donald Sutherland, he's a seasoned pro, so he could be in like the most bit parts, but it's going to be memorable, and I like him as the character of Lucien. He was fine. Keith Sutherland, he plays a character called Freddie Lee, who's actually the brother of one of the guys that the Sam Jackson character killed. I like Keith Sutherland. I thought he was fine in this movie, though we don't really spend a whole enough time with the Freddie Lee character to really know anything about him. We just know that he's a brother and that he joins the KKK, and they start terrorizing Brigance and his family and everyone associated with Brigance. They just come across as like their own little separate thing, like this underlying threat, just to give more juice to the fire, I guess, since it takes place in the Deep South. Other than that, to me, Freddie Lee as a character, you could take him out of the movie and it wouldn't really say or do much, because I never really feel he has a personal rivalry against Brigance or against Haley, because it just never came across that way on screen to me, at least. Maybe to someone else it did, but to me, I never got that sense that he has a deep seated hatred. Saying you want to kill somebody is not enough for me to believe that you want to hurt these people. Like I needed to see more of him do more terrorist style things in order for me to really buy into his hatred for Brigance and Haley. It's like the movie is running with the fact that his brother was killed, he's joining the KKK, and to me that's a little flimsy. I need some more to make him come across as a more looming threat. That's just me and how I feel, to be honest with you. And I think the other supporting cast members are great too. Charles S. Dutton plays the black sheriff, Sheriff Wells. I like his character. I thought his character was cool. I like how, I would have liked to seen a little bit more of him, as with the Chris Cooper character, who is the one who in the scuffle gets shot and loses his knee when Haley accidentally shoots him. He has his best scene is pretty much where he's testifying in favor of Carl Lee, where he's like, if my daughter were to get raped, I'll shoot him like a dead dog. You set him free. He's a hero. I mean, that's Chris Cooper's best scene in the whole movie. Is where he that's really his best scene, and he does a good performance. I like it. Yeah. And you also have Ashley Judd, who plays the wife of the Jake Brigance character. I like Ashley Judd as an actress. I thought she was fine, though I think this movie also underutilizes her a lot. I mean, we see she has scenes peppered throughout, but then the movie kind of gets rid of her in the middle part, and then there's this good stretch where the movie is focusing on a relationship between the Helen and Brigance character. And to this movie's credit, Joel Schumacher did not shove in a needless love triangle. He avoided that. I mean, he teased and hinted at it, but thank God he didn't go that way, because this movie was already sprawling enough with a lot of other subplots. That subplot would have been just okay. Now you're pushing this too much. It's too much. So I like how they didn't go down that route. But I also don't. But with that being said, you could have done more with the Ashley Judd character as McConaughey's wife. Like, even when she gets written out of the movie, I mean, you could still have those two characters have phone conversations where Jake is going to his wife for like comfort and for just something. Instead, the movie almost forgets that she exists. So that's another gripe. That's another gripe I have with this thing. But overall, But in terms of its dramatic appeal, the best scenes in this movie are the courtroom scenes. Those scenes are so good. They're the best parts of this movie. They're the most interesting parts of this movie, and the best one is the one at the end where Jake gives this empowering speech, and he tells the juror to imagine, to close their eyes and listen to the story he tells. And when he tells them to a vision that the little girl was white, the jurors kind of change their mind because there's this other subplot where the jurors, they just want to get out of the courtroom easily, and there's this one who was just completely just doesn't care about anything, just wants to get out of there. So he votes against Carl Lee. So when Jake tells this story and they're all like reduced to tears at what they're being told, very good scene, very very powerful scene. And then Jake gets his wins. He doesn't go to jail, and then you get this great ending where Jake goes to Carl Lee's house for a barbecue, and this is where the friendship between these two really cements because throughout this entire movie, Jake thinks that he and Carl Lee are friends when it's the exact opposite. Because in Carl Lee's mind, he chose Jake because Jake is no different than the other whites in this movie. He just tries to convince himself that he's not, and this is what gives Jake the inspiration to do the speech in the courtroom, and also is to me it's what really cements the friendship between him and Carl Lee. And I like it. It's really well done. And again, backed by great performances by McConaughey and Samuel L. Jackson. Whew. Okay, there's a lot more to talk about with this movie, but those are just my overall basic thoughts. This review has gone on longer than how I intended it, but yeah, A Time to Kill to me is a really good movie. It gets a solid 8 out of 10 for me. If you have not seen this movie, watch it because it is damn good. It's one of Joel Schumacher's best. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for A Time to Kill. Let me know your thoughts in the comment sections down below. Like this video and subscribe, and I will check you back next time for more.